in the Bank Nifty, C period is done. We are in the middle of the day, the D period, and an auction which is moving up and down. Right. So yesterday we were watching the market and it was at the RO point when it opened. The prior day, that was the Friday. Let's get into the market profile and build up on the structure and try to understand what the market is actually wanting to tell us over here. Right. So Friday, big move down. Settlement day. Sorry, that was Tuesday, not Friday. Tuesday, big move down. Settlement day. Yesterday, first day of new series, the weekly series, Wednesday, the market refused to fall. It did not go much below the neutral extreme of and we closed at the highs. Now, obviously, into that tape, there was an element of payment involved, and the market was waiting for that news to come in out of that GST meeting, which was there, expected to be positive. We know that already because earlier in the middle of August, when that news first broke in, the market had gapped up also. So during the month, a couple of other news started flowing in, and yesterday when that news finally broke out that everything was as was discussed, middle of August, we've seen seeing ourselves into another gap up. Now, is that a surprise? No, the gap up is not a surprise. It's more of a relief into what was expected of the market and that negative news flow which came in because of how it was spoken about came out yesterday and the market breathed a sigh of relief and we got our gap up. Now the news is out. The news is out. The auction is doing what it is. It's never what happens at the open. It's what happens open in the sense what our volumes gonna do. So earlier this we're seeing some initiality by buying, and the A period was a rock solid 100 points. It went up to about 25040. Roughly 25040 was the expected number around the highs of the previous profile over here. It went up to about 2503. What is significant is that the B period today has not given a follow through. So that was something which was not expected by the auction makers, people like us who understand the tape and look at it. When we are seeing a strong open, when we are seeing responsive buying, and even though it was not a lot of IV3 in the market, we are expecting B to follow up on what the A period TPO did. So we did not make a new high. Okay. The second thing which happened is that the VWAP when it was tested did not hold. So you can say that the early morning buyers did not do a good job into the market strength. So which is why we've got that move lower in the C period. And now okay, we are seeing a D period which is trying to come back into VWAP and understand the auction out over there. So we stayed out in the C period, even though it looked like a lucrative shot because process is process, and you cannot really trust a move in a C period. And this little move which we see in the C period is more about longs coming out. This one, it's more about longs coming out from the market, okay, than actual short into the market. So the longs have been taken by surprise by the inability to defend VWAP. The inability to defend VWAP has created okay this slide over. Should we shot into it? We could have, but what stayed us, what held our hand was the fact that it was a C period extension, and you never trust a C period extension, particularly after the half of the C period is done, which is around 10:30 a.m. And this extension came in around that point in time beyond 10:30. So that's why it becomes a little bit difficult to trust okay this move going forward. But virtually, what has happened because of the failure of price goes back above to VWAP, it sets ourselves up okay into a short opportunity, and we should be looking to trade the way towards that gap zone. So anything okay the market places around here, and if we get a good RS kind of a signal, responsive seller and an IS confirmation, initiative sell in the puts or even in the futures. In the puts would be in the money puts about 100 or 200 points away from where we are. If we get those kind of confirmation signals, IV3 in puts or IS signals in future, we think about taking shots and we look at trading into that gap which is around that 24830. So that's the early information which is coming and which is significant for us as we trade into the auction out over here. Just want to review okay that one trade which we did early in the morning and the other trade also which did not really take off early in the morning, quickly at the open, whenever okay, the market gaps up like it did today, it gaps up. The first 10 minutes are significant for us. I would ideally like to see a gap up open, show initiative buying at the open. That is the most ideal situation for us. What does it tell us? That the price gap, the gap is actually a movement of price. The price gap is showing me volume intent. What is volume intent? Volume intent is initiative buyers coming into the market. So if I see IB3s and if I see a gap up and an IB3 initiative buying signal in the 1 minute or 3 minute time frame, that's my conviction to get a lot of longs into the market. I did not see a lot of that this morning, which was giving a small hit, but was not anything to be bothered about. First thing at the open, we saw this 840, and some of you asked me, okay, what is this 845? Whether it is a long? It's not a long because it's got some zeros right next to it. So this tells you it was a stop loss order. What kind of a stop loss order? It's a green, right? It's on the buyer side. So it's a seller who's been closing or been forced to close his position. So this is a stop loss market of a short which got triggered out over here. Into the lower open, you saw in that first 6 minutes only a 9 to buyer. Now, the reason okay, this 922 is of interest to me, and this is relatively speaking, is because I don't see 922 anywhere else in the first 10 minutes. And when it comes in at a zone which we had identified as a previous reference point of 24,940, and I'll just walk you through why that zone was important to me. It tells me that this market okay wanted to go up into a long side mode again. It was a very good long, and one of the reasons okay, we got into that 24,600 was 24,700 CE was because of this 920. So this is the kind of signaling you look for the open to drive yourself into some good long situation. This is the message of the market, and the tape speaks to you and get this thing done. Right? We did some profit booking, right? 25030. There was a string of supply which was coming in. The VWAP was expected. The VWAP okay showed a little bit of green. There was a reason to get back into a long up over here because on this test, all this spot is green. So it's telling you that the buyer wants to come back into the market. But subsequently, we got an initiative selling signal. And whatever is our buy, IS comes in. Okay, we have to respect that IS, especially if it comes in the first 30 to 60 minutes of the trading day. So the IS is telling you that buyers are no longer interested in defending price. The second IS comes in at 24,973, and now you know that the market is failed buyers, or you can say buyers have failed in the market, and that's why okay we got that move lower, which we did. I was looking at the option side of the issue, and I had a 24,700C. We got into that 24,700C also. So this one which came in around 10:06 was the first thing that calls were not there in the market at all, not teaching the market at all. This one at 10:27 is a further confirmation that the drop in price was because of not calls booking profit in the market. I looked at that 25,000 PE also to see if the market's down move was dominated by buying inputs, but you don't see a lot of puts except okay, maybe at 10:12, which actually did not trigger, and we later got a move to 270. But in that early 1 hour, when those IS3s were happening, there wasn't a lot of call side activity which was coming up over here. Now, that 24,940 zone, the reason that is important is because when you were trading the rollover, that was the point at which the max shots had come in. So if I go back into a candlestick chart and if I review okay the activity of the 26th of August, this was that zone where the supply had come in and it was all short side rollover which we had tracked somewhere around where we opened up today. So by closing, we need to see be above this zone for you to say that the buyers are doing a good job in this market. If we are not sustaining above this and all this inflow is short side rollover, all this volume which is coming, these people are still holding some of that short, which is why okay you saw that red in the tape, and this supply I feel okay is still active in the market, and it's not gone out of the market yet, right? So this thing has to be confirmed by buyers. This is going to be a battle zone I think the duration of the week, right up to this 24,945, you can add up to about 100 points based on today's data and say, okay, that there is some responsive selling activity which we can visualize through this small responsive tail. So that morning initiative buyer is, you can say if this stays in 330, this could end up as a responsive selling tail. And if the seller extends in the D period, E period, it's going to be a further confirmation that this particular singles over here on the 22nd of August and this rollover is still active in the market and generating shorts in the market. Right? Yesterday's auction, I wanted to address that because that question, okay, is very valid about what really happened in the tape yesterday. So this is the Nifty future. Yes, yesterday was a classic day of the market not listening to the short interest in the market. If you see this entire activity of yesterday, this is the future, right? And everything was going up on red hot. So I was looking to short this market around at the open, but we stayed over rollover and it was there. And then okay, around it was, just pull up that chart. There was this trade which was open for us yesterday around 24,760 or something right here, and we dropped to VWAP, and I was kind of surprised okay, that the market did not break lower despite having red calls. So what is this telling you? That the futures is still short. Why did the up move happen yesterday? Is because of a competing information in the options market. So the options market was pricing in the long okay or the news from the GST. It is a news driven market. So typically, okay, this is what happened. This is not really something which happens all the time, but around news events, the movement is actually done via options market. So people speculate. I would not say, okay, that's a trading position to be held about 3 or 5 days. It's a minor position to be held for the next morning or early at the open or even, okay, half a day of that session based on a speculation that the outcome is going to be some kind of a news is expected and some people, okay, may have got wind of that GST news coming in. So the option market built longs, the futures market did not. Okay, and now that is an important thing for us to consider as we navigate the rest of the market. Typically, for a good move up, I want to see the options and the futures market move together. That did not happen yesterday. So that's a red flag in itself that the market is not driving up on pure fundamentals. And generally, whenever this happens, if the court stays red, that's a market which is suspect, and those up moves have to be traded with a lot of caution. So again, this is a classic market which is diverging between the futures and the options. That's the wallet chart. If this purple goes below blue anytime today, and there is an existing red caught in the 10 bar, that's again okay telling you okay that this market okay would be wanting to go short. So at the moment the 10 bar is just about marginal. Yesterday this was red and they rose up okay on that red caught. It's not really a healthy signal for a market to continue going up. It's always suspect when the futures market does not participate in the long side of the market. Anyway, point is that event is over now. So all that speculation which was built via those long calls, etc., are out of the market. Market profits are taken. So the message over here is now is the time for demand to act. And if demand does not come back into the market via futures and via that NTM wallet chart which we have, then the risk to the downside keeps increasing. Right? So I just hope okay everyone is clear okay with the reading okay which the chart is telling. It's a little bit confusing, but I think it's a very straightforward read, and the read is the demand is got to act over here right now today, and if it does, we could have further moves up. If it does not, we are going back to lower levels between 24,830, possibly testing 24,760, the 24,650 rollover point here. Right? What would you track the futures? Because yesterday's futures were not sinking, and you would see if the red part is adding or reducing. You would still track this NTM Volex chart and see if the blue is above the purple. This was a rock solid long at the close yesterday, but now it is almost merging. The purple is still not dominating the blue, but a class long side speculation has won today. I think they have booked profits and are out. That is why we saw all those IS3s show up in the order flow. 24/700 onwards, all those IS3s are those calls booking in the market. There isn't a lot of put side B3s yet. Why those long in the money puts 25,000, 25,100, 24,900 also. But if that changes, okay, then okay, we look at the market as having some short side opportunity only. The NTM by its nature is an intraday tool. It's for your short-term trading only, the micro picture, but you can always track multiple days at a time to see where the market was. I just want to put one word of caution out over here, guys. The derivatives market in which we are trading in the middle of 2025 are very, very different from what you and I have been brought up on. If you have been around in the derivatives market, it's very, very different today from what it used to be. So don't have this assumption that there is a trend continuation day after day. This is a market which goes up one day and does not hesitate to go down next day. So try as far as possible not to read too much into the future. You would never know what is happening in this market between Monday to Friday. It may go up Monday, it may come down Tuesday, it may go up Wednesday, it may come down Thursday, and by Friday it could be in nobody's land. Right? So just try to keep a micro picture of the market open and look at it in terms of half an hour, 1 hour at a time, and not to go too far ahead and look at it 5 days from now or 4 days from now and build a position based on that. It does not work like that anymore. This is a market which is shifting, which is random and keeps going up and down as volumes keep coming in. Right? So the buyer has failed. He did not hold VWAP. Okay, the C side is done, and I'm looking okay to short everything into the VWAP and look for something around this of yesterday, which is around 24,850. Let's close that gap first. It could be that 24,888, this 850, 830 zone, and let's see the reaction over there and see if this market wants to go out over there. Your confirmation signals would be via order flow data and NTM Volex. Keep both of them on screen. This one starts, the purple starts going up, but you have the market sending you a message right over there. Order flow, since this move is coming from the options market, you want to keep in the money put open and watch for IB3 signals out over there. I saw one in the 25,000 PE around 195, and that was okay around the C period. So not really active over here, but anything now between now and the G period in terms of an IB3 and an in the money put, that is actionable for us to take next steps in this market. Remember, the move has coming from the options market, so allow the options market to send the next signal to you. Right? So I hope okay that is in order, and I'll send it back to the order flow charts. If there's anything else to be discussed, let's do it via the next chat. Switching it back to the order flow.